Yeah.
Hey everyone, Kate and Fiona Pearman joining you for this week's Facebook Live, where we're continuing to talk about psychosocial safety and hazards. And we've talked a lot so far around what is it. It might not be a familiar term for you, and what gets in the way, barriers to creating psychosocial safety. Today, we want to talk about the how-to, and we will talk through three different lenses, individually, what leaders can do and what organisations to do. Each have a really important role in the conversation, but today we really want to focus on the individuals.
Yeah, I think the big piece here is when we talk about psychosocial safety, no one except you can decide what is safe or unsafe. And so when we start from that premise that this is something that very much an individual has awareness of, understands, and we resource individuals, that is the first stage, the first step at which we can do something useful and constructive around what can be some pretty big topics, and can certainly, people often talk about trying to express themselves or trying to speak up or trying to share more in their organisations, and perhaps have had a bad experience in the past. And when that's happened, that's often layered in, and it means that the next time they go to do something, they've got this shadow effect or this sort of fear that comes up, which constricts them from behaving in the way they'd like to. And so in a sense, they feel unsafe to do something, not necessarily from what immediately is happening now, but from things that have happened in the past. And I think there's a sensitivity here required to understand we're all coming to this from slightly different place and all coming with slightly different experiences.
Yeah, I think the important recognition that the individual is the one who knows best around what may feel safe, may not feel safe. The individual will recognise warning signs, and if they don't, then the only person who ever could, outside in, we can, I guess, but certainly the individual is more better positioned to be able to recognise some of those early warning signs, and so supporting individuals to identify, pay attention to those, recognise what they are. I think awareness around maybe when we do need to reach out and ask for help. And I think this piece around supporting individuals to build networks of colleagues, relationships with leaders. But I know myself, when I've had some tough times in organisations, be it because of my personal situation or because of the pressure of a role, it's often been my colleagues that have just been it's been their support and the ability to go and have a chat with them, not for them to solve problems, but just to kind of be able to, talk to them and have an ear that has been most powerful. So I think this ability to support individuals to raise awareness around what's going on for them, what may be triggers for them, and then the ability to, where possible, seek support, seek help, so that they can lead, or they can lead the way for leaders, right? They can say, hey, this is what I need. They can ask for what they need, as opposed to keeping it all very, I guess, intangible, right? For leaders and organizations in terms of what would be most useful.
I think it's a tricky one, right? Because often we're not aware, and it takes a little bit of work to extend our self-awareness to understand what it is we need in a situation. And so being able to ask ourselves good questions, or have those colleagues that support, can be a really valuable way in which we can become better aware of that. And I think as we become more aware of what's possible for us, and our capacity and that sort of thing, one of the things we've found is really helpful for individuals is to really be good at setting boundaries and enforcing them. Most of us have got a fairly good grip on being able to set some boundaries. However, the holding them in the face of pressure is really hard, and it can feel that can sometimes feel unsafe. It can feel as though I'm letting my team down. What will they think of me? Will they think I'm not a team player? All sorts of fears tend to come up with this one. We know in our Acts of Confidence program, Act of Confidence number 6, really supporting people to unpack what it's going to take to hold a boundary that's important to them. It starts off as being something difficult, but the empowerment and freedom that people get to on the other side of that discomfort, it's almost like a revelation. I didn't know that I could say no. And as I learned to say no with confidence, what that means for me, but it is also role modeling for others, the potential. So I think that ability to set boundaries is a really big one too.
Yeah, and I think importantly, it's one of the things we know clients in our Active Confidence program struggle the most with when we have, we do workshops. We've done one today with women industry groups, and a lot of people talk about, finding it really difficult to set, but particularly to enforce boundaries, because enforcing a boundary is asking for what you need, putting your needs above perhaps needs of the organization, needs of your leader. And so this can be a really tough one. Really important though, when we think about speaking up, talking to our capacity, talking to, what's doable from a workload, from a work hours perspective. When we think of some of these psychosocial hazards, our ability for individuals to give voice to what's going on for them, so that leaders and broadly the organization can have really good conversations about what's going on and find co-create solutions is really important. I think the other thing here is, active confidence number 5, right? Redefining our relationship with fear and failure. The struggle around enforcing a boundary, to your point, Fee, often relates to a fear of what will happen if I do. And so supporting individuals to really understand their relationship with fear, reframe it so that they can have good conversations, they can respond to what's going on for them with that, ever evolving awareness. And again, co-create solutions that will work for them and work for the organization as well.
Yeah, I think the other thing we want to flag here is getting mindful about the self-care strategies that work for you. I mean, we're really conscious. We talk a lot about this in our programs. What are the things that I need to feel really well resourced on a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual plane? What do I need to do? And, this can be as simple as, what's my diet consist on, of how much alcohol, caffeine am I consuming? How much exercise am I getting? I mean, simple things that actually have a big ripple effect in terms of how I show up, my health, my vitality, my resilience to cope with some of those things as they come at me. It's not the whole story, but it's part of the story, is being really conscious of the self-care pieces that I can put in place that I know are going to mean I'm in the best possible position. I've got the best possible resources as I face into, inevitably some of the challenges that we're going to see in our workplaces.
Yeah, I think I'm always the first put my hand up and notice differences, right? When I'm not feeling super resourced to navigate situations, when I do feel triggered in examples or environments where normally I wouldn't be, and equally when I know I'm going into some pretty big stuff, where there will be, a reasonable level of, pressure or things to deal with, making sure that I do take care of myself through really good self-care strategies, so that I am as resourced as possible to navigate the environments and the workloads that we have. Lots, of course, to dig into. Today, we've just talked about the opportunities for individuals. Next week, we're going to talk about leaders and, of course, beyond that, organisations as well. We've all got a role to play in this really important conversation. Team, we're going to leave it there. If you've enjoyed today's confidence conversation, we'd love to hear from you. Feel free to drop us a note in the chat feed below, or alternatively, we'd love to hear from you over in our Facebook page. If you head over there and like it, you'll see and have access to a whole bunch of videos we've done, including the ones we've referenced this month on psychosocial safety. And if and when you're ready to go deeper with your relationship with core confidence, visit our website, coreconfidence.com.au.